Hi everybody, it's David Newton, your personal sommelier from teachingwineonline.com. We're going to learn how to taste wine today. This is real simple. I'm going to give you 4 steps that you can use, and you don't have to go through all 4 every time. But if we're going to be tasting like a pro and doing it like the professionals, this is what we need to learn. All right. Now, if you're in a restaurant and you don't have a white background, like I'd use a menu in some cases, I'm just going to use a white piece of paper right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the wine with the white background in the back. Now, what I'm looking for is not how pretty and shiny it is. I'm looking to see if there's a flaw, if there's an issue. All right, and so if there was an issue, there might be like a little bit of a rust color to it, maybe like a bit of oranging on the outside of the rim. You'd see that with white wines too, a little bit of the orange, so that's when you know that there's an issue, maybe some oxidation. If it's real dark ruby purple, that means you're probably dealing with a younger wine. And I have seen no flaws with this. That's right. So now I have looked at it. I figured out a few things. Number one, I figured out what it's not. I figured out that it's not a white wine. I can tell by the color and the density and the fact that I can barely see my finger through it that it's not a Pinot Noir. So those are a few things we get from the site. Now I'm going to swirl and smell. Swirling is making the alcohols rise. As the alcohol rises, it carries up the aromas of the wine. And when I stuck my nose in, I stuck my nose all the way in. Nickname for this is called hoovering. But I exhaled before I did it, and I took it a full breath in with my nose to get as much as I could out of that. And I've sniffed twice now. I'm going to do it a third time. Okay, so the last time I got more of the fruit flavors. The first time I was smelling more of the alcohol. So it took my nose 3 tries to basically get over the shock of the alcohol in the nose, and then start to determine, you know, the overall aromas were more clear the second time, and then by the third time I was over the alcohol issue, and I was pretty much comparing and contrasting my second and third sniff. All right, so now I've smelled it 3 times. Also, now that I've smelled it, those aromas are up in my head, all right? My brain's starting to recognize things. Now when I taste it, what I've smelled and what I've tasted are now going to connect to each other, and that's a beautiful thing. I'm going to smell once again just before I take that next sip. I let it go from the front of my mouth through the sides of where my mouth was, my cheek. I let it go down my throat, and I got a lot out of that. Number one, my palate is already woken up to it from smelling it. Now I've combined what I smelled with what I tasted. And if you ever sprayed chloroseptic down your throat when you had a sore throat, you can taste the chloroseptic down in your throat. So there are taste buds down there. So I tasted everything that I could with every part of my mouth. I was 1 step away from literally gargling it to get more, but that wouldn't be bourgeois. Anyhow, I want to do it one more time. Sniff. Pull some air in. It's a great wine. I did aerate this earlier for a video that I was doing. Now, the last thing you do is just you sit here and you assess what you've drank and how it tasted. You think about how it felt in your mouth. You're focusing on how long that aftertaste is. The longer the aftertaste, the better the wine. You could also sit here and go, the front palate was this, the mid palate was that, and the finish was even more, and basically I've got a great wine here, so this is worth doing.